Okay, hi Professor. So, my name is Jamelia. I picked Shakespeare in the Bush. That's the one that I picked. I did write down most of the things I would be saying. I don't want to read it word for word, but I wrote down most of the things that I would be saying. So, if you see me looking, I am looking at my notes. But again, my name is Jamelia, and the one I decided to react to is Shakespeare in the Bush. Shakespeare in the Bush reading shows how worldview affects communication and interpretation. After reading Shakespeare in the Bush by Laura Bohan, I found the article to be both interesting and eye-opening. The main idea of the article is that our worldview strongly influences how we interpret stories, behaviors, and cultural traditions. Bohanian believed that Shakespeare's Hamlet had one universal meaning that people from any culture would understand. However, when she shared the story with the Thai people of West Africa, correct, they interpreted nearly every event differently based on their own cultural beliefs and traditions. Based on where they were from is what they believed in from what she was explaining. They didn't understand from where she was explaining. Instead of accepting her explanation, they used their own worldview to explain the characters' actions and believed their interpretation was the correct one. The article clearly illustrates the impact of worldview on the interpretation of culture meanings. The Thai people understood the story through the lens of their own customs regarding family relationships, marriage, leadership, witchcraft, and ancestors. An example of the story is when Bohannon viewed Claudius marrying his brother's widow as immoral. Instead of him believing in the explanation that he was given, his culture made him believe that it was a conflict in the Hamlet. Elders saw this as the proper thing to do because the kids had to still get taken care of. Also, likewise, they reject the idea of ghosts because their beliefs centered on witchcraft and omens instead. This demonstrates that people naturally interpret events according to the beliefs and values that they have learned throughout their lives. Something that can happen in your life or some belief that you have can change your whole morals and everything about how you perceive things. So in this case, that's what it was. It's like, yes, we know right from wrong, and we know that this is not what should be done, but due to their beliefs and their culture, they're just like, you know what we have to do? We have to do. Responsibilities is responsibility, so that's what they did. Anne's worldview shaped her perception by leading her to believe that Western interpretations of literature were universal. She expected the Thai people to understand Shakespeare from her perspective rather than recognizing that their culture experiences would influence how they interpreted the story. By the end of the article, she realized that her assumption was incorrect because the Thai elders believed they understood the story's true meaning just as strongly as she thought she believed it to. The story also challenges the idea that our own culture values are normal or superior. Throughout the article, both Bohemian and the Thai elders believed their own interpretations were the correct ones. This shows that every culture tends to see its own customs as natural while viewing unfamiliar practices as unusual or even incorrect. The article reminds us that there is no single culture lens through which everyone experiences the world. Instead, our upbringing, traditions, beliefs shape the way that we understand people and understand situations. And that's just our life experiences that help us with it. So even a prime example, you may feel as though when you went to a certain school, something that you guys were doing was of your culture and was okay, and you may go to a different school or hear from your other friend that, you know, they go to this school and due to their culture and their upbringing, they do things differently. Doesn't mean that both are wrong, doesn't mean both are right, just two different cultures. A unique tradition or a couple of unique traditions that I have in my family, for example, graduation or prom. My sister's prom just passed. And basically something that not every family do is we had a prom send-off. So the prom send-off means that we're able to celebrate her before she ends up going to prom. We're able to have a good time with her and have fun with her before we send her off. So with a prom send-off, what it would have or include is first she has like all her decorations and everything. She had like a red carpet and everything, and in the back of the house we had like a whole bunch of food and stuff. So the food would be in the back and the decorations be in the front, and we all would gather, and she would still be inside. She don't come out yet. And basically once everybody's gathered and like it's like surprise, like oh my god, she's about to come up, and we got the emotion up there, she walks out to like her favorite song and everything. We take pictures with her because of course her friends are gonna have her for the whole night. We take pictures with her. Once we take pictures with her and stuff like that, everybody goes in the back and we eat and we talk to her, and like within an hour and 30 minutes we send her along her way because, you know, they're not going to be on time. Of another culture, somebody from somewhere else would think that we did too much, it wasn't that serious, we should just got a dress, put it on her, and send her way. So again, that's where it goes into your culture, your beliefs, what your family does, your upbringings, your traditions. That's one of our traditions. That's how we celebrate each other. So therefore, that's one of my things. So compared to the Thai people, the interpretation would be influenced by their own worldview, just as the Thai people interpretations were shaped by theirs. The best practice for communicating across culture is to approach conversations with humility and curiosity rather than assuming our perspective is the only correct one. If we see somebody do something from another culture or another belief, we shouldn't just jump to the conclusion that they're doing something wrong. Instead, come to the aspect of, you know what, let me ask a question, and probably ask them like, you know, why is it that you do this, or is this something that your culture normally does? Instead of sitting here and judging, you could just be curious and ask a question. An example from the article is when Bohannon explained the concept of ghosts. Instead of simply accepting her explanation, the Thai elders interpreted ghosts as witchcraft because that fit within their culture understanding. That's how they understood it, and that's what they perceived it as. If both sides had focused more on understanding each other's belief rather than proving who was wrong or right, communication would have been more productive. If they sat there and was using more curiosity than humility, it would have been 10 times better. But they want to prove who's right or wrong when they're both right in their own ways. The experience that relates to this topic happened when I began working with different people from different backgrounds. I noticed that some people communicated very directly while others were more indirect and careful with their words. At first, I misunderstood the indirect communication style and thought those individuals were unsure or avoiding the issue of being from a different background. Later, I realized that in their culture, being indirect was actually a sign of politeness and respect. Some people don't know how to approach you, or they don't want to come at you the wrong way. Them being silent or them not even trying is a better way to be polite, instead of them, like, let's say that you don't know Spanish and here you are trying to say something in Spanish, and instead of saying something that you thought was appropriate, you said something that wasn't something that you should have said. So therefore, I feel like sometimes it would seem like somebody's being rude when they're just not knowledge on your background the same way how you're not knowledge on theirs. But like, again, it goes back to curiosity. It doesn't hurt to ask questions if the person seems open to it. This experience is similar to Bohemian's interaction with the Thai elders because both situations demonstrate how differing worldviews can lead people to interpret the same behavior in completely different ways, making them think that one another could be wrong, but they're both right. The most significant lesson I learned from this article is that worldview shapes how we perceive reality, communicate, and interpret the actions of others. You should always be respectful and never be judgmental, no matter where somebody's from or their background. No matter how universal we believe an idea or story may be, people from different cultures may understand it very differently because their experiences and beliefs influence their interpretation. As future professionals and global citizens, it is important to recognize these differences, avoid ethnocentric thinking, and communicate with openness, respect, and a willingness to learn from others. By doing so, we can build stronger relationships and become more effective intercultural communicators. I feel as though when I started working is when the best time that I understood this way better. So reading this, I really loved it because the younger me really needed somebody to tell that to. Like, listen, don't be judgmental because it's not something that you're used to. Don't be judgmental because of none of that.